Uh, hey Rudy, this video is only for you two guys, and it's related to the interest deductions. Now, I know there's been a lot of discussion on it, but Micah, I feel that the people that have been influencing this decision, from my understanding from Barry, and Barry and I and Mark have had a lot of wonderful conversations. I'm just going to first tell you, I'm honored that I was able to take this trip to learn in depthly about Africash, Afrasisaco, the customers that we serve. We've had a lot of intimate conversations with all of the staff members at the firm. I got to witness a staff meeting with Barry. I love the man greatly. He's a great leader, somebody who has a great foresight, somebody who has a vision that is just so captivating. We've had many, many, many hours together in the car, in the boardroom, meeting with people. And I want to take this opportunity in this message to you, Micah, to understand that we had a good meeting with James, Mark, and I after a long meeting with one day. And James is a CPA, the general manager of Frasasako. He's been with Barry for 5 years now. He's one of the original employees. The man is wonderful. We talked about the growth of Afasasako and Africash and what is needed and how important it is to bring a lot of cash into this country, especially for the next 2 years. I know the people that have possibly influenced decision, and Barry told me point blank, Craig Boyce. He has even admitted to both Barry and to Mark that why he's maybe a great CPA in the construction industry, he doesn't fully understand the financial industry as it pertains to microlending, credit unions in Kenya. I'm going to say this first, number one. For him to say that we must adhere to U.S. standards for a Kenyan company is absolutely ludicrous. You must adhere to the Kenyan standards because this government is looking to tax the hell out of any business and will tax it out of business because they are so greedy. The people that I talk to, when I say, what's one word to describe the president? More times than not, I got the term corruption. That is the view of politicians here. And these government leaders, Ruto is the fifth president in 50 years of Kenya. Now, I understand geopolitical issues for Africa. I've been studying Africa. My dad taught me many of these things when he was a plastic surgeon here in South Africa for a period of time. He came here in the late 60s, and he always taught me a lot about Africa. And we've had a lot of friends from Africa over the years that were fellow plastic surgeons as my father. So I got to learn a lot about this country and the history of these countries, the colonialism, from many, many viewpoints. And in talking with James the other day, it was very apparent that they are looking for about a 60% growth in Afrasisako both this year and next year before the 27 elections. Now, it is important to understand not only just the books, but to understand the economy here in Africa, to understand the political history and the current political situation here in Kenya, especially, and also to understand that if somebody does not have a full grasp of the financial market in this country, they shouldn't be influencing decisions they don't understand. And I will call him out personally. I have met people, talked with people. I spent hours with a guy yesterday, and we talked intimately about the government, about taxes, about schools for their children, and stuff like this. I have a much, much greater insight. And even though they've been here before, they don't get it. They don't understand. This is the most vital time that we can have in providing capital these next 2 years for Kenya before the 2027 elections. Even James said we are progressing ourselves or projecting ourselves for 60% this year, 60% in 2026, because they know possibly they may not get it in 2027 when the elections come about. We don't even know if they could be fair and free elections. You know, these there's always disputes in elections. We think our disputes were bad in 2016. It compares to nothing as what's gone on in the last 50 years in Kenya. I've read a lot of history, I've talked to a lot of people outside of the microlending to understand the dynamics of Kenyan politics. And so I'm imploring you, Micah, because I think this is the wrong time to make that judgmental decision that we must go back to 36. And even Barry said that he would probably be talking to you. So I'm coming to you from my side because it's not on a lender's side, it's on the Kenyan people side. It is on what we are doing here in Kenya. Mark and Barry are setting up something that could be monumentally huge to make Africash not only the largest sacco in Kenya, but possibly one of the largest saccos in all of sub-Saharan Africa or Africa in whole. Barry's vision is so big, and yet his heart is so golden. He even tells his staff, he's told us multiple times, I'm not the boss. I am a servant to my employees. I'm a servant to the people of Kenya. And it is so refreshing to hear a man of vision say that. So I'm the reason why I am providing this for you is I'm bringing a different look. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the books. It's not looking about a CPA who has knowledge in one area. We have a great CPA in James. We talked to James. We said, James, we need to get quarterly reports from you. Can you provide it? We have developed a brotherly relationship. We dined with them. We discussed business intimately. We met the people in the field. We had some wonderful times with these people at Freza Seco and our clients out there in the field. And I wish we could have had a full video team. That would have been great. I'm gonna have to have Liliana clean up audio to the videos that we had. But we have so many great stories. But I'm telling you, right now is not the time in 2026 to make that decline in the returns. It would be better if we held off even another year to let as much money come into Kenya. It is vital that we support this market fully. It is vital for the dreams of every single employee at Afraza Sacco, for every person we serve in the borrowing industry. It is vital we get as much cash here in these next 2 years before this next election, that we help strengthen Afraza Sacco completely beyond the bounds of Kenya. And the only way to do that is to continue the path we're doing. I'm not doing this in the greed of a lender saying, oh, I want my 36. I'm doing this because I understand the Kenyan people. I understand the Kenyan government. I understand the situation that we have right now. And this next 2 years is vital for our operations in Kenya. Vital that we continue pushing as much dollars as we can. We have a great opportunity right now to be a leading force. When Barry says that we can create a generational company, I get it. I get it. And so I'm imploring you to reconsider, to look at this, put it off a year. If we have to do it in 2027, James and I talked about the transfer of money. He believes that by the end of this year, to be back up to about 140 shillings to the dollar. It might dip down to as low as 119, but it's probably going to go back up. Then it'll cycle back down in 2026, and then what happens in 2027 could be very monumental. We may need to make those changes in 2027 just based on the economy that happens or not happen in Kenya. It could happen because of the political situation that happens. So we have to look beyond the black and white of a piece of paper and understand more about the geopolitical nature, what is going on in Kenya, what Dr. Barry is doing for his team, what is going on, and the growth. When I sat in their team meeting on Friday morning, I was astounded at the leadership of Dr. Barry. And the one thing he said to them, each and every one of them, he says, listen, I don't want you coming to work on a boda driver. I want you driving your own car. I don't want you paying rent. I want you owning a home. I don't want you to struggle when you're sick. I want you to have the best health insurance. So when I hear that from our leader, the man's vision that we are supplying, it is important to me that we stay the course for the next 24 months at least, because it is so important, the work we are doing here. And my fear, we may have people tell us, I won't do anything. But my fear is we take any substantial money away from this program in 2026. Because of the vitality of the vital nature of the presidency and the political nature that's going to come out in 2027. And trust me, it could get ugly. Ruto is not the greatest of leaders. And after reading his history, the reading of Kenyatta, and the preceding president was the son of the original president, and understanding, I've read so much in financial banking of what's been going on in the last 5 years. We sat in the office of the branch manager of Kenyans Women's Financial Institute, the big Kenyan microfinance, and he told me they have a 30% default rate. He looks defeated when we were talking to him, almost begging us if we knew a job. Mark and I sat with this man, and we went back to James and said, hey, if you want to go meet Paul over there at Kenyan Women's, I think he's ready to talk. I think he would join your organization in a heartbeat if you're expanding into a new office. I think you would have a very loyal employee. And so we're finding out that through the Hustler Fund, the government-sponsored microlending program, which is a 29% default rate, Kemen's Women's Finance Institute, 30% default rate. Our default rate is truly at 2.7%. But the most important sector of our default rate, the most important sector and the most profitable sector of ours is the boda drivers, and they're less than 1.6%. The high borrowers that borrow the million shillings, and the people like Moses who we met, who have a great video, and hope we're going to share that with you. They have a zero default. We have a fantastic recovery team here at Afrezza Seco that makes sure that default rate stays low. I never ever heard of a recovery team. We saw a motorbike in the office of one of Afrezza Secos that literally was sitting there because the man did not pay his loan back, and the desperation he has right now to pay it back to get his to get back out there and driving his boda. The recovery team goes out in the field and insures these people, helps them make sure that they can pay their loans. I watched how these guys approve loans through Africash. I watched the amount of loans coming in just like this. And then the guys looking and just approve. It was astounding, the operations that they were going on here. And my greatest fear is that we slow those operations in 26. We do anything that harms this program in any way right now, because this is, I believe, the most critical time of growth that we have in the next 2 years before this next presidential election. James will even tell you that. And this discussion on geopolitical issues came up while we were discussing the financial numbers. These are things that a normal CPA, a person just looking at black and white, is never going to understand. So I'm asking you to reconsider, to look, put it off another year. Understand that it's a much bigger issue here in Kenya if we take $1 out of this program. Now, I understand the distributions and the, stuff like this, but I'm talking about somebody removing all of their money just because, I'll go get a higher rate next year. It is imperative that we help Afrezza Seco grow to the 60% growth they want this year and next year. And if the fuel card program comes in that Mark and Dr. Barry are talking about for the boda drivers happens, that growth is going to be magnified much greater. And so we've got some opportunities here to support these people in such a way that we can literally become part of one of the largest financial institutions in Africa. And 2 years ago, I would have never dreamed that. 2 weeks ago, I would have never understood that. Today, I understand that. And that is the message I'm trying to get to you, to Rudy, and to anybody else. Until your boots on the ground, don't look at the paper black and white. And just because they went in the field, they still don't get it. You gotta understand the entire nature of the geopolitical system here in Kenya. You gotta understand the entire big picture, not just some black and white numbers. There is something much greater here, and that is the heart of the Kenyan people. So please, Micah, take my words and put them in with everything else you hear. But understand this. My position is not from a lender's perspective. It's from the very people I met in that office and in the field. We'll see ya.